Hello, this is Emma here from Shine Brighter Coaching. I met a lovely lady in the supermarket this afternoon, and she told me how helpful my last talk had been on bereavement and grief, because a friend of hers had recently been bereaved, and Avril had said it had been a really helpful talk that I'd done. So I thought, ooh, I must do another one. Now, as you know, I did some training, loss and bereavement awareness training with CRUSE, which is a national charity. The information I'm giving you is what I've got from that training session. I'm absolutely not a bereavement counsellor, okay? I am a coach who works with people who feel at a crossroads and feel at a point in their life when they want to move forward, okay? So that's who I am and what I do. Now, as part of this bereavement training, they talked about different models of kind of grief. And the thing about death, dying and grief, it's going to happen to all of us. And I think the more it's talked about, the better understanding we have of a bereavement process, a grief process, then the better friends we can be, the better family members we can be, and we can be in a stronger position to support someone who has suffered a bereavement, okay? Now, in the old days, they used to talk about, the stages of grief. You do this stage, you do this stage. And it was described to us on that training session as being outdated and clunky. Okay. There's some other models that they talk about more these days. And there's one I want to talk to you about called the whirlpool of grief. Now, it's really interesting. I'm a very visual person, so I like to see things. And I found this really fascinating. Now, apologies for my dreadful drawing, okay? But it gives you an idea of a possible grief journey, all right? And it's important to know what a journey could look like, because then you can know how best to support someone. Now, in our whirlpool of grief, okay, this is the person going along the river of life, quite happy in their boat, going along, life is good, and then all of a sudden somebody dies, okay? They are bereaved, and they are in their little canoe and they are head first down a waterfall. Oh my goodness. So this is called the waterfall of loss, okay? Terrible, terrible time. If you can imagine yourself in a canoe, you head first down a waterfall. There you are completely numb. You're in shock. You're in denial. And you're feeling all washed up. Absolutely terrible, terrible feeling. So what have I put here? I've put here the waterfall of loss, shock, numbness and denial. All right. So a really terrible time immediately after the person's died. You're careering down a waterfall, okay, and you can't see for looking. There's water everywhere. You're completely taken over by the waterfall, the drop of the river that was fine. You're heading down. Now you then head down into a whirlpool. So a whirlpool is a really nasty place to be when you've been in a canoe, because the whirlpool is going round and round and round like a massive washing machine, okay, so this whirlpool feels like you're falling apart, loss and emotional disorganization, and you're feeling like you're drowning in the whirlpool. It's a really, really horrible place to be, okay? Now, round here are some rocks, okay? Now, they talk about being on the rocks. They talk about physical and emotional pain, because you're spending most of your life in that whirlpool, and then you're dragging yourself out onto a rock, okay, pausing for breath. And then, my teacher did say that sometimes these rocks that you grab, you pull yourself out of the whirlpool of grief, sometimes these rocks could be work, or they could be alcohol. They could be anything that just removes you from that whirlpool of grief. All right. Now people go round and round and round and round in this whirlpool, dragging themselves out onto the rocks, getting back in it. And everybody's grief journey is different, okay? Until such a time comes. So they're describing the whirlpool as being an overwhelming watery wilderness, okay? Think how grim it is, an overwhelming watery wilderness, okay? And then eventually go round and round and round and round and round and round and round. Eventually we come back out on the river down here, okay? So mourning the loss of the person, okay? Slowly reorganizing life, slowly reconnecting with others, and eventually an acceptance of a new reality in their boat heading that way, okay? Acceptance of a new reality, but remember that anniversaries can make the new river very choppy, all right? So this is a very simple model, and the gentleman who devised it was called Dr. Richard Wilson, so the credit goes to him, Dr. Richard Wilson. So just to say, you're up here first, you get bereaved, someone dies, you head on down the waterfall into the horrible watery wilderness that is the whirlpool, okay? The rocks are on the side, and then eventually, having gone round and round and round and round, you eventually head on down along that new river, okay? Slowly getting accustomed to a new normal, all right? So that is a very interesting picture of what somebody's grief journey could look like. So obviously, when you are being with someone who has been bereaved, it's important that you get some sort of idea just by listening where they might be on that journey, just so that you can do your level best to support them wherever they are. And remember, we were talking about before in my last talk, discussion of your own grief journey that you might have been on before isn't really that relevant, because our own grief journey is very personal to us. And if we start saying, well, it was like this for me, and they're thinking, but it's not like that for me, that's not necessarily very helpful. So I thought that was useful to know. Now, in my next little talk, I'm going to talk about supporting someone over Christmas who's had a bereavement, and I'm going to be doing that next week, all right? Now, if you've got any questions about the whirlpool of grief, then either drop me a message or put a comment on the thread. But I do want to say that it's, as a coach, I wouldn't be working with people until they were down here, all right? So once they've done all this, okay, however long that might take, it's really only when they're on this new path, they're on this new river, is when they may feel that they want to kind of, okay, they've got to a stage where they are accepting of a new normal and wanting to move forward in a new direction. That then and only then is when a coach would be suitable, all right? Obviously, there are bereavement counsellors for the waterfall and definitely for the whirlpool, okay? But there's a place for coaching when they are going down that new river, all right? And they're calling it, what are they calling it? Yeah, just their new river, all right? So I hope that's useful. Just want to remind you, the phone number for the national helpline for CRUSE is 0808 808 1677. That's open Monday to Friday. Monday and Friday is 9:30 to 5, and Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday is 9:30 to 8. And when I spoke to them, they said evenings are their quietest time, so it's easier to get through if you ring in one of those evenings on a Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday. And they're there to listen, and they can provide maybe some information and support that you might need. Anyway, I hope that's useful. I'll speak to you again later. Bye-bye.